Hey guys, happy Monday, Creator Mom. Last night I watched the most egregious movie. It was called it's funny because I love horror movies or psych thrillers. Well, not all horror movies. Like there's certain I'm not really into like the sci-fi horror that much. And it's funny because I never really revisited the old horrors like Chucky, Child's Play, I think it's called, Freddy Krueger, Friday the 13th, Mike Myers. I'm not really a fan of the classic horror films for some reason. I don't know, maybe because I actually find Freddy Krueger scary. Like, that was big, I guess, when I was growing up. But anyways, I like psych thrillers, stuff like that. I like horror comedies too. Um, I'm fascinated with that genre and how they do it. I did watch the new Beetlejuice movie, Beetlejuice. I thought it was boring. As soon as I put it on, I got distracted. It didn't suck me in. I'm not going to say the movie was boring. I'm going to say I found it to be kind of boring. Because somebody else might love it. But yeah, I found it to be pretty mid. I do like the Jenna Ortega, I think that's her name. I love her. I loved her in the show Wednesday. That was really good. So, I felt like there was some Addams Family references in Beetlejuice. But yeah, I watched this movie last night and it was pretty gross actually. It was called Substance and it had The Substance with Demi Moore. And I was like, is that Demi Moore? Like, that sure is Demi Moore. It had Demi Moore in it, and it had the girl, and I was like, this other actress, and I'm like, I know her from somewhere. Who is this actress? It's the actress from the show The Maid, which is a really good show. I loved that show. I forgot her name, though. She's really pretty. I like her. She's a good actress. But yeah, The Substance. It says, a fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. And it's gross. It's like, it's really raw the way they do it. It's almost like, okay, well, don't listen to this if you think you're going to watch the movie, obviously, because I'm going to give it away. So, she takes the substance that's you inject, and it's really gross because what happens, I thought like, it's considered drama horror. Okay. Yeah, it's like horror that you're like, oh, that is gross. It's kind of like, you ever watch the movie The Caterpillar? I think it's called The Caterpillar. That's really gross. I mean, some stuff is just so gross that you don't even want to look at the screen. So that's kind of like how this movie was. I found myself skipping through. It's like over 2 hours long. I'm like, wow. And the way it's directed is very freaking Kill Bill-ish. It's just very like, I don't know how they describe the type of directing that was in this movie. It was very Kill Bill. Like, in Kill Bill, like, I don't know how to explain it, but if anybody's ever watched Kill Bill, they might know what I'm talking about. But, who even directed this movie? 141 minutes. Margaret Qualley. That's the girl's name. Somebody rated it as absolutely fucking insane. Yeah, I agree. It is pretty absolutely fucking insane. A film at Corley Fargate. I don't even know what the heck that means. Anyways, she injects this substance into her body. And then I thought she was just going to like shape shift into like a younger version of herself, and like, have less wrinkles or something like that. She's like a exercise instructor or something. But her employer wants to replace her for a younger female, right? Of course. It's like showbiz. So anyways, yeah, she gets into this big car crash on the way home. And in the hospital, this guy puts something in her pocket. And that's how she starts to find out about the substance. So obviously she chooses to take it because her career is about to be over. So it's like a very tempting situation, right? Why not? Like, look younger, be younger, like have a chance to start your whole career all over again, like that you love. You know what's weird about this? A weird synchronicity for me is just yesterday I was scrolling Facebook and I saw this video by Kathy Bates. And boy, I'm like, she got old. I feel like just yesterday she was like more like plump and just more plump and younger looking. Not younger like 30, but like 60 or something, just more plump. Because I'm like, what is the last movie I watched her? And I think it was like it was not just American Horror Story, which I know is quite old now. But yeah, I watched her in American Horror Story. And I'm like, dang, she looks like she must be in her late 70s or something, but she looks really old. Like, she looks like she's in her 80s. I gotta check how old Kathy Bates is, but like, her face is like more skinny and gaunt. I feel like maybe when you're older, you look better when you have more meat in your face and you're like chunkier. Because she got very skinny and gaunt and kind of pale. And I'm like, dang, Kathy Bates, what happened? Anyways, she was talking about feeling invisible. How when people get older, when we get older, we deal with feeling invisible. You know, your usefulness, right? Because when you're young, you're real useful in the world. You're doing things. I don't know, people want to hire you even. And maybe when you're old and you're in your late 70s, it's like, who's going to hire you, you know? But what's interesting is I think in showbiz, you can probably get hired for the rest of your life depending, right? You got to look for those roles that need older people, which a lot of roles have older people in them. Because look at Beetlejuice. I'm like, yo, how is that lady from freaking Home Alone? What's her name? I don't know. And she was in Beetlejuice, the stepmom in Beetlejuice and the mom in Home Alone. I'm like, how she still looks pretty young. Not young. You know, you could tell she's aged. And Winona, too. I'm like, damn, Winona, she still looks good. You could tell she's older. But, you know, she's got the lines, you know. But I'm like, but of course, I know Hollywood, they might do plastic surgery or Botox or whatever, what have you. But yeah, Winona and Michael, whatever his name is, the Beetlejuice guy. I'm like, all these older people. I can't believe they made a second Beetlejuice movie. How many years later? What, is it 20 years later or something like that? I should look it up. Okay, it says Beetlejuice came out in 1988. I was born in 84. And yeah, new Beetlejuice in 2024. So what's that, 30 years old or something? Almost 30? Sorry, my math is less than 30, but still, what, 28, whatever? I don't know. No, it's already 30. Anyways. So yeah, I'm like, man, those people still look decent. I still can't believe they made another one so many years later. But it was perfect because Jenna Ortega is Winona's daughter. And I'm like, that was a good fit. But although I still think the movie's like pretty boring. So anyways, back to this movie, The Substance, right? So what happens is she gets this needle, she injects this drug, and it's gross. All of a sudden, she hits the ground and she starts like, whoa, like acting like she's having a seizure. You don't know what the hell's going on. You're like, what? Then all of a sudden this like something's like in her back and her spine and it starts moving around. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's so gross. And basically a younger version of her comes straight fucking out of her body. So basically her spine, her skin along her spine just splits in half. and a new version of her like comes out of her own body. It's really gross. And I'm like, ew. So then it gets grosser because like she's basically given this whole kit. So she has to sustain the old body with a, you know, like a little feeding tube, but it's a needle, goes into the vein to sustain the old body. Because if the old body dies, then I think the new one dies too. They're still spiritually connected. One is giving life to the other. So you have to keep the old body alive. So she has to keep the body on the substance, on this food substance. And then what she does is, I think she sticks a needle. First, she sews up the spine. That was really gross. Like, they show, like, sticking the needle into the skin. And I'm just like, oh, like, that stuff. Just, I'm like, oh. I fast forwarded. And then she stick the needle into that incision, you know, that was made through the spine. She stick the needle in there and pulled out, I think she pulled out cerebral spinal fluid. And then the younger version of her. And then the younger version of her stuck the needle into her thigh to get that spinal fluid, I guess, into her body. And that gave her life, you know. But without that, she was going to start to die. So it was like really weird. And then the younger version of herself goes and gets the part for this younger, you know, the younger role that the older one was getting fired from. So yeah, Sue, they called her Sue. So yeah, basically what happens is, of course, nothing good happens from this. We all know that, right? Like when you fuck with human nature and getting old, it just doesn't work well, you know, because you can't reverse biology. You know, you could try to fight aging, but you're gonna die and you're gonna get old. So anyways, what happens is something worse happens. So instead of Demi Moore's character just aging gracefully, and instead of her accepting being let go from her job because she's old now and they don't want her anymore, instead of just moving on, boys, she does this. So because I was fast forwarding and I was getting tired, I forgot how I think the younger one started to get like a personality of her own in a way, but the guy who gave her the substance said, no, both bodies are one because it's one spirit. But somehow the younger version of her was getting more powerful, and it was getting more hungry for attention, and it wanted to stay alive because I think she was supposed to rotate. 1 week the younger version of her, and then 1 week the older version of her. For whatever reason, there had to be a rotation like that. But the younger version of her was getting greedy and didn't want to switch back into the older body. So what happened was the older body ran out of food, and then she started, all of a sudden, the point is, both bodies started to merge and morph into this gigantic, ugly creature. Like, it was really gross, guys. Oh my God. The grossness in this movie is crazy. It was like this gigantic creature. It was all gross. If I find a picture, I will put it in to this video. Okay. Yeah. So, essentially the moral of the story is just accept that you're aging, and because if you try to fuck with nature, you will like come out looking like a gigantic blob, a monster. You know, it was almost like she thought, oh my God, I want this to stop now, I want this to stop, but there's just no stopping it. I'm like, did they die at the end? I have to go back and watch the end because I was falling asleep. Nothing good though. Yeah, I gotta watch like the very end again. I just remember them morphing into this this big monster, gross looking creature. So yeah, moral of the story, just find acceptance. Find acceptance, right? Accept the things that you cannot change. All right, guys, have a wonderful Monday.